In this lesson, I'm going to share with you a recent experience that I had with a student called Geoff. Geoff came to me really struggling with his driver. He was lacking confidence, not hitting the ball as far as he'd like and leaking them out to the right. Now in this lesson, we managed to get Geoff to hit longer drives and at the same time actually tighten his dispersion, so he's hitting it straighter as well. And I'm going to share with you in this lesson kind of what we did and give you the really simple steps that we went through with Geoff to get him to perform better with the driver. I know there's going to be so many of you out there watching this who have the same issues. Now before we get into this, if you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd love you to go ahead and click that button. It means you won't miss any videos, and please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and get down to the comments box and let me know what you thought. So the reason Geoff was struggling is kind of two main reasons. Number one, he had his club sort of cutting across the golf ball a little bit from out to in. That was giving him some curve and creating a little bit more of a glancing blow. And then when we look at contact, he was tending to, yes, he was hitting some at the middle of the driver, but some of his contacts were moving low in the face, down towards the toe, and we even got a couple off the bottom, which only went maybe 20, 30 yards, and they were really costly on the golf course. So why was he doing that? Well, it was all to do with the shape of his swing and what he was doing to that. So when we swing, the golf club basically moves around your body on a big circle, and there's a lot of things that are contributing towards that circle. So when I looked at Geoff's golf swing, and we got him down to around this point in the downswing, he was in some fantastic positions. He'd done a lot of really good things. And when we look at from the face on, when the club is in this position, we can sort of predict where the club wants to go. It's got its natural momentum, its natural movement, and you can see that we've illustrated that there. But on the way through, Geoff was kind of overpowering the golf club. He was making the golf club do something different to what it wanted to do. So he was actually moving his hips back away from the target. He was moving his elbows further apart, and you can see what that does to the movement of the club head. We've changed it and taken it off that kind of natural path, that natural movement that it wanted to have. And because of those movements, the club was cutting across the golf ball and it was affecting his strike. So the first little exercise that we gave Geoff was one of just really trying to feel like he was letting the golf club swing a little bit more freely around his body. He wasn't trying to pull it into his body. Now you can see what we did on the screen with Geoff. I was kind of in front and gave him a little drill. You might not going to have somebody there with you, so this is how you can do it. Take your golf bag or anything that's relatively soft. You can see I've placed it there. Take your driver, hold it by the end here. And I'm going to take my setup to this golf ball. Now what I want to try and do here is make some little backswings, and the club's obviously going to feel incredibly light. And the key, and this is where Geoff was making a big mistake, is I want you to feel like you're pushing that grip as far away from the ball as you can have it. Notice how my elbows are really close, and you're getting this really extended position here. Now very often, when we try and get the club to extend down the target line, we help that with our body. So we almost sort of move our body to try and do that. But that gives us this cramped position. So I almost want you to feel that there's opposing movements here. You're trying to get the grip end of the club as far away from your chest as you can, but at the same time, you're almost trying to push your head a little bit back away from the target. That gets you really extended. I'm going to move my bag a little bit further forward. So if I was trying to really get that grip to extend down towards the target line, the last thing I want to do is follow it with my body. Look what my arms are doing, really cramped. This would be a much better feeling. I'm going to try and hit that bag, squeeze the elbows, but notice what my head is doing. I'm actually sort of forcing my head a little bit back away. So we get this really nice position here where the elbows are squeezed together, the club head is nice and wide, and look at where the end of that grip is relative to my chest. It could not be further away from me. Now when we looked at Geoff, we didn't see that. We saw his chest sort of turning this way, his elbows separating. That was changing the circle or the swing of that club and causing him to miss some shots. So this is your first little exercise. Really light grip pressure. Let the club work back, a little bit of wrist set, let it go through, and just start to deliver the club into whatever you've got in front of your golf ball. Obviously in this case it's the golf bag, and you can see how I'm starting to get this much better body shape where the head is probably more sort of back of center relative to my heels, and I'm starting to get this extended movement. Now, before we did anything, before we added any speed, that was the exercise that I wanted Geoff to go through, to really feel and sense that club swinging around his body. Once you've done that a couple of times and you've got some good ideas of what that feels like, turn the club around this way, do the same thing here, but then just let the club go through that point to a finish. So I'm going to go back, extend, and go through. And really just starting to feel the natural movement of the golf club. Okay, remember, it's in a position here. It wants to go down, around, and up in this direction. Okay, what I don't want you to do is try and force the club in any directions that it doesn't want to go. Use the weight of the club, sense the weight of the club, and that's going to be the first little exercise that I want you to try. Next up, and this is really important for your golf swing, really important for the driver swing, learning how the clubs swing and the energy that you put into it can really give you some more consistent results. I'm going to do a little demonstration here. I'm going to hold the golf club just by 2 fingers. Okay, and this is really discussing energy and, more importantly, timing. Okay, and this is to do with how your body moves through the golf swing. I'm going to just hold it in 2 fingers. I'm going to set the club at horizontal and just let the club head drop and swing through. And it's got a natural swing. Similar to what we said before, we can almost predict from here where the club head is going to go. You'll notice that the club shaft on target side doesn't reach horizontal, okay? But this club is swinging, okay? Now this time, I'm going to let the club swing, and as it's swinging, I'm going to take the grip end and I'm going to pull it directly upwards. And what happens to the club on the other side of the ball? It suddenly goes a little bit further. So what I did is I took a club which was swinging and I added some energy into it. And the club goes further the other side. The more energy I put in, i.e. the faster I pull up, the further the club goes the other side. That's how we put energy into the golf club. Now what about if I put that energy in, but I time it wrong? So I'm going to let the club go, and then too soon I'm going to pull up on the grip. Well, what happens now is we sap energy out of that movement. That club has now got less speed, even though I was trying to do the right thing. So that really highlights how we put energy into the golf swing and how important it is that we time it. But watch what happens if I hold on too tight with these fingers. I don't let the club swing. We can't get the energy into that club. So when Geoff was holding onto the club too tight, and you may well be doing this, you might have too much pressure and tension through the hands and the arms. If the club isn't swinging, we can never get the energy. We can never boost that club head speed. We can never get that energy out into the club head. So what I wanted to do with Geoff is give him those ideas that we've just gone through, and then support that swing of the club with a much better body movement. If I could get Geoff to extend up into that finish position, that's him putting energy into the grip, causing more speed at the bottom. So I wanted to get Geoff moving through the golf ball better, but was one key thing that he was doing incorrectly, and it started in the backswing. If I wanted Geoff to move better this side through the golf ball, I had to get him moving better away from the golf ball. And what we saw with Geoff's backswing is that he wasn't turning his shoulders well enough. So he was making a lot of that backswing move with just his arms this way. So it's very difficult to make this nice aggressive move through the ball if we're not moving into the backswing well enough. So I wanted him to move better in the backswing, turn his shoulders more. Now I actually physically did this with Geoff, but here's a great little exercise that you can do. Take your setup, club goes into your belly button, grip down onto the club shaft that you can see there. And now all I want you to do is make some little movements away, and straight away you're going to feel how your right hand, the club head and the shoulder are all connected, and my shoulder has to move to get that club to move. As soon as I do all the work with my hands and arms, the club comes away from my belly button. So this is a really, really simple way that you can do at home, in the office, at a driving range, on the golf course, just to feel and sense the shoulders doing some good work early on. Once my hands get outside of my right thigh, then I can start to use my arms and turn up to the top, but I'm now primed, ready to move my body on the way through. So then we came to the final sort of piece of the puzzle, if you like. How do we get the body to move better on the way through? As we said, Geoff's hips were going backwards away from the target. So he was finishing in what we call forward bend, where the chest points a little bit more down towards the ground. I gave Geoff the instruction that I wanted him to finish his golf swing with the closest thing to the target being his belt buckle. So what did that look like? Well, it didn't look like this. It looked more like this, where he was extended with his belt buckle pushed out towards the target. And you'll see we did a little exercise where we put a bag down behind his heel, and that was a great reference point for him. So the final bit of instruction was swing, let the club go, and push the belt buckle out here. And what we suddenly had is three really important components. We had the club swinging. He wasn't trying to overpower that. The club had its natural movement. Once the club had its natural movement, we gave him a better backswing body turn. And then we supported that with a more aggressive turn on the way through. And suddenly, contacts started to become more out the centre, and Geoff hit his longest drives and his straightest drives towards the end of the lesson. So I really think there's going to be lots in here for you to digest and take on board, and there might be lots that we've discussed and you think, yeah, that sounds like me, I'm too tense or I'm overpowering the golf club. So use these drills, take them to the range, take them to the course, and I think, like Geoff, you'll probably hit more at the middle and probably a little bit longer as well.